This is Evangelist Henry Walker. Welcome to the podcast. I want to start a new message today, talking about how you can receive your miracle or miracles by knowing who the Father really is in all his power. But let's go to the Father in prayer first. Father, I thank you for another opportunity to minister to your people, Father. I ask you to use me just the way you want, Father. Let me say only what you want me to say, nothing more and nothing less. Help people, Father, to open up their spirits and not only receive the word, but study the word for themselves. And Father, we give you all the praise and the honor, Father, in the mighty name of Jesus Yeshua, by the blood of Yeshua. Yeah, please turn with me to Isaiah chapter 43. Isaiah is right after Psalms, Proverbs, Ecclesiastes, Song of Solomon, Isaiah, right before Jeremiah. So again, I want to talk about our Father. He wants you to receive your miracle or miracles today based on the fact of who he really is. So we want to go over some of the titles that are applicable to our Father and just receive today your miracle. The main requirement is that he wants us to submit everything to him, especially our flesh, ask him to come into our spirit, fill us with his spirit, mortify the deeds of our flesh, and make us more and more like Jesus, Yeshua, every day, bringing the fruit of the Spirit out of our lives in Galatians 5, verse 22 to the end. When you do that, he puts you on a sanctification process. And every day, he works on you. He's working on us every day to get us ready for the rapture and for him to use us the way he wants to use us and to bless us the way he wants to bless us. Isaiah chapter 43. The first title I want to talk about concerning the Father is the fact that he's our Abba, our Daddy. He's our Father. Isaiah 43, verse 1. But now thus said the Father, Yahweh, that created us, O Jacob, and he that formed. Remember, Yahweh is an action verb. When you surrender everything to him, he actively moves on your behalf. He told Moses, I am that I am. Whatever we need him to be. It's all wrapped up in his name, Yahweh. I am that I am. But now thus said the Father, Yahweh, that created you, O Jacob, and he that formed you, O Israel, fear not, for I have redeemed you. I have called you by your name. You are mine. We belong to him. Total protection. Again, he wants us to surrender everything to him. Verse 4, since I was precious in my sight, you have been honorable, and I have loved you. Therefore I will give men for you and people for your life. There's people that died in our stead, in our place. So he protects us. In verse 5, fear not, for I am with you. I'll bring your seed from the east and gather you from the west. If you're concerned about family members, children, he's saying, hey, I'm going to bring them. I'm going to give them at least an opportunity. In verse 7, even everyone that is called by my name. For I have created him for my praise. I have formed him. I have made him. And just go to the left of Psalm 139. As I talk about the Father, and he quickens your spirit, just receive your miracle. Just praise him. Again, as long as you submitted everything to him, you can be blessed beyond what you ever could imagine today. In Psalm 139, in verse 13, for you have possessed my reins, you have covered me in my mother's womb. I'll praise you, for I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Marvelous are thy works, and that my soul knoweth right well. My substance was not hid from you, when I was made in secret and curiously wrought in the lowest parts of the earth. Your eyes to see my substance, yet being imperfect, and in thy book all my members were written, which in continuance were fashioned, when as yet there was none of them. So this ministry is a pro-life ministry. Believe that life begins at conception. And here he's talking about our parts were continually fashioned. Every podcast I pray for the babies in the womb. This is a perfect time to do so. Remember, the babies in the womb, their heart begins to beat around 18 days, and around 4 months, their hearts are pumping about 25 quarts of blood per day. So, Father, touch the babies in the womb, bring them to a full birth, Father, and we give you all the praise and the honor, Father, in the mighty name of Jesus Yeshua, by the blood of Yeshua. And if any of you out there had an abortion, repent, ask the Father to forgive you, and go on and follow him. And don't look back. So back in Psalm 139, again in verse 16, your eyes did see my substance, yet being unperfect, and in thy book all my members were written, which in continuance were fashioned, when as yet there was none of them. He had a purpose for us already in the womb. If you just go to Jeremiah, right after Isaiah, Jeremiah chapter 1, right after Isaiah, Jeremiah 1 verse 4, then the word of the Father, Yahweh, came unto me, saying, before I formed you in the belly, I knew you. And before you came forth out of the womb, I sanctified you, set you apart, and I ordained thee a prophet unto the nations. Then Jeremiah said, I can't speak. I'm a child. In verse 7, say not that I'm a child. The Father said, for you shall go to all I send you, and whatsoever I command you, you shall speak. Be not afraid of their faces, for I am with you to deliver you, said the Father, Yahweh. That's for somebody today. He's called you to be a prophet. He's put his spirit inside of you. Allow him to use you. Don't be concerned about anything. Greater is he that's in you than he that is in the world. The Father, Yahweh, put forth his hand and touched my mouth, and he said unto me, behold, I put my words in your mouth. And see, I this day, today, set you over the nations and over the kingdoms to root out and to pull down and to destroy and to throw down, to build and to plant. In verse 11, moreover, the word of the Father, Yahweh, came unto me, saying, Jeremiah, what do you see? I said, I see a rod of an almond tree. Then said the Father unto me, thou hast well seen, for I will hasten my word to perform. And he wants to do something quickly in your life today. Grab it in your spirit. Receive it. Maybe you haven't been ordained by man yet. Those things are important, but the Father has ordained you today. And he's saying, follow me. Go out there. I'm sending you. Another title that he wants us to focus on today is that he's the Almighty. If he's the Almighty, there's no room for any mighties around. He's the Almighty. You can write this down in Romans 4, verse 21. He fulfills all promises. He's not a man that he should lie. He's telling you the truth. With all the junk that's going on in the world, with all the distractions, the deceitfulness that's going out, the mainstream media, telling things to people what they want them to hear, not what they need to hear. Control, manipulation. Last two messages I talk about the first and the second beast of Revelation, and how the Father's preparing us for the rapture, and that Antichrist beast system is preparing people for the mark of the beast. But all the deceit out there, the Father is true. He's the way, the truth, and the life. And he fulfills all promises, Romans 4:21. Ephesians 3:20. He wants to do exceedingly abundantly above all that we could ever imagine for us. Ephesians 3 verse 20. And he can subdue all things. Who's ever coming against you, whatever's coming against you, he can subdue everything. Remember, everything was created by him and for him, and by him all things consist. Whether it be thrones, principalities, mights, or dominions, they're all were created by him and for him, and by him all things consist. Satan reports to the Father. Remember, Satan was coming to the Father in the book of Job. They're looking for his next assignment. He said, have you considered my servant Job? God said. In Isaiah 54, it says the Father has created the waste, Satan, to destroy. He controls everything. He can subdue anybody that's coming against you. But come into his protection. It says in Psalm 91, we dwell in a secret place of the Most High. We abide under the shadow of the Almighty. When you do, no weapon formed against you shall prosper. And every tongue that comes against you in judgment, you shall condemn. Why? Because you are his servants, and your righteousness is of him. He says in Psalm 91 that he gives his angels charge over us to keep us in all our ways. Even when we make a mistake, he's there, using his angels to keep us. It all starts with submitting everything to him and being on that sanctification process. In Jude, he can keep us from falling. When you get tempted, not if, when you get tempted, he'll provide a way of escape, and he'll strengthen us. So the same power that raised Jesus, Yeshua, from the dead will quicken us when temptation comes. He'll quicken us. and give us a way of escape. Strengthen us to resist that temptation and leave the situation. And about him being the Almighty, he can use weak things, small things. Look what he did with Moses with the rod. Look how he used the rod over the Red Sea. In Exodus chapter 14, he stretched forth the rod and the Red Sea opened. Just use a rod, a piece of wood. With Samson, he used a jawbone of a donkey to kill 1,000 of the Philistines. You can say Samson was strong, but where did he get his strength from? He got his strength from the Father. So when you submit everything to the Father, there is nothing to fear. He'll give you supernatural strength if you need it. Look what he did with David, coming against Goliath, with 5 smooth stones David had. All David had to use was one. He kept the 4 for Goliath's brothers if they showed up. But one smooth stone, with his power behind that stone, destroyed that Goliath. Maybe there's a Goliath situation in your life that needs to be destroyed. Sometimes, just like going around Jericho, just have to praise the Father for what he's already done. He made a show over principalities and powers openly, triumphing over them. Just claim the victory he already did when he hung up there for us. Claim that victory. Maybe you need to be delivered from demonic oppression. Well, when you surrender everything to the Father, it's only a matter of time for the devil has to cease, desist, and run away. But it all starts with submitting everything to the Father. Don't hold anything back. See, you can rebuke Satan, but you can't rebuke God. He's going to stay in that area of your life that he wants to work on until he's finished. You can't get rid of him. You might as well submit to him and let him do that daily operation, that daily spiritual operation. Go with me to 1 Kings. Go to the left. Keep going back to 2 Chronicles, 1 Chronicles, 2 Kings, 1 Kings. 1 Kings chapter 17. Again, talking about the Father and all his power. All he needs is small things, little things to work with. In 1 Kings 17, talking about Elijah in verse 1, how the Father spoke to him and said there should not be dew nor rain 3 years. In verse 8, and the word of the Father, Yahweh, came unto him, saying, Arise and get to Zarephath, which belonged to Zidon, and dwell there. Behold, I've commanded a widow woman there to sustain you. So he rose and went to Zarephath, and when he came to the gate of the city, behold, the widow woman was there gathering her sticks. And he called to her and said, Fetch me, I pray thee, a little water and a vessel that I may drink. And as he was going to fetch it, he called to her and said, Bring me, I pray thee, a morsel of bread in thy hand. And she said, As the Father, your Elohim, liveth, I have not a cake, but a handful of meal in a barrel and a little oil in a cruse. And behold, I am gathering 2 sticks, that I may go in and dress it for me, and my son, that we may eat it and die. Elijah said, Give some to me first. And in verse 14, But thus said the Father, Yahweh Elohim, the barrel of meal shall not waste, neither shall the cruse of oil fail until the day that the Father sends rain upon the earth. And she went and did according to the saying of Elijah, and she and he and her house did eat many days. And some translations says, throughout the famine. It just took a little bit of food and oil. And the Father worked with her obedience. Elijah's obedience in asking her for it, and her obedience for giving him some little bit of food, a little cake and a little oil. So the Father can use little things, little acts of faith. If you just bless people when you can, it just adds up and adds up until the Father just gives you a waterfall of blessings. But it's those little things that don't go unnoticed by him. Helping somebody cross the street, carrying somebody's packages, just putting your hand on somebody, just saying, hello, how you doing? I remember I was working up north in this office. The Father told me to put my hand on this person, just pat on the back. And I did, but I did it by faith. I said, Father, bless him. A lady came to me and said, when you touched me, man, I felt the power of God. I felt love and peace, and he needed that. So these little things that we do, the Father notices those things. They don't go unnoticed. And we're not doing that because we want to receive anything from the Father, but just that we want to help people because of what the Father has done for us. So she gave some of that little bit of food that she had to the prophet Elijah, And she had enough food for her and her house many days again throughout the famine. In verse 17, and it came to pass after these things that the son of the woman, the mistress of the house, fell sick, and his sickness was so sore that there was no breath left in him. So here, she was a widow woman, but now she's the mistress of the house. A title change because she did something that could be so small in other people's eyes, but it was so big in the Father's eyes, and it meant so much to her to have one day of life with her son. And she never took that back and said, today me and my son are going to eat it and die. Her son did die. And Elijah stretched himself in verse 21 upon the child 3 times and cried unto the father and said, Father, my Elohim, I pray you, let this child's soul come into him again. And he revived. So just by doing little things for the Father, he's so appreciative of the little things, quote unquote, that you do for him. A little baby learning how to walk, the boy or the girl just walks a little bit, falls, tries to get up again. The father and mother are so proud of these little steps. In 1 Kings 18, in verse 41, Elijah said unto Ahab, Get thee up, eat and drink, for there is a sound of the abundance of rain. This is through a famine. So Ahab, in verse 42, went up to eat and to drink, and Elijah went up to the top of Carmel, and cast himself down upon the earth, and put his face between his knees. And he said to his servant, Go up now, look toward the sea. And he went up and looked, and said, There's nothing. He said, Go again 7 times. There's that number 7, perfection. And it came to pass at the 7th time that he said, Behold, there ariseth a little cloud out of the sea, like a man's hand. And he said, Go up, say unto Ahab, Prepare thy chariot, and get thee down, that the rain stop you not. And he outran Ahab and his chariot. There's abundance of rain because of that little cloud. And that rain was so refreshing. Maybe you need a refreshing today. Maybe it's such a dry place where you are. You're tired and worn out. Let him rain his power in your life, his comforting power, his peace, his joy into your life right now. Believe that he is. And he's a rewarder of those that diligently seek him. Just seek him today. Receive today. Again, just make sure you surrender everything to him. Don't hold back. Follow him. And you can receive your miracle or miracles today. Just go to the right to the book of Psalms 107. We're talking about him being the Almighty. The Almighty. Psalm 107. Just talk to him. What you're asking him to do today, just receive it by faith. He ordained that you listen to this podcast. And tell other people about this podcast. We want to continue after this podcast, talking about more about his power. And people can receive miracles every time they tune in and just listen after they surrender to the Father and receive. In Psalm 107, verse 24, These see the works of the Father, Yahweh, and his wonders in the deep. For he commanded and raised the stormy wind, which lifted up the waves thereof. Maybe he's raised up a storm in your life, but the one who raised it can calm it. Just receive that today. There's confusion, you don't know just where to turn. Maybe it's financial difficulties. The Father allowed it to happen to get your attention, that he can rectify the situation and make it like it never happened. In verse 26, they mount up to the heaven. They go down again to the depths. Their soul is melted because of trouble. They reel to and fro and stagger like a drunkard and are at their wits' end. Then they cry unto the Father in their trouble, and he brings them out of their distresses. He makes the storm a calm, so that the waves thereof are still. Then they are glad because they be quiet. So he bringeth them unto their desired haven. Oh, that men would praise the Father for his goodness and for his wonderful works to the children of men. Go with me to the book of Mark. This is a prophecy that was fulfilled, recorded in the book of Mark, chapter 4. Matthew, Mark chapter 4, verse 35. Mark chapter 4, verse 35, talking about him being the Almighty, and we just read how he raises up the storm and calms the storm. He raises up the winds in the sea and calms the winds and the sea. There's a prophecy of this, what happens right here, as recorded in Mark chapter 4, verse 35. And the same day when the evening was come, he said unto them, let us pass over unto the other side. He didn't say, let's try to get over to the other side. Let's go to the other side. And when they had sent away the multitude, they took him even as he was in the ship, and there were also with him other little ships. But he was in their ship. Is he in your ship today? Is he in your house today? Do you have anything in your house that could attract Satan to your house? Or is your house filled with the Spirit of the Father? Do you have anything in your house that could interfere with your relationship to the Father through Jesus, Yeshua? Pray about it. Search. Read some of my messages at henrywalker.org. The written messages, again, right at henrywalker.org. The verse 37, and there arose a great storm of wind, and the waves beat into the ship, so that it was now full. And he was in the hinder part of the ship, asleep on a pillow. And they awake him and said unto him, Yeshua, carest not that we perish? And he rose and rebuked the wind and said unto the sea, peace, be still. And the wind ceased, and there was a great calm. And he said unto them, why are you so fearful? How is it that ye have no faith? And they feared exceedingly, and said one to another, what manner of man is this, that even the wind and the sea obey him? Again, this was prophesied in Psalm 107, where they were at their wits' end. They didn't know what to do. And he called to him and said, Yeshua, carest not that we perish? Maybe you're crying out today. You feel like you're going down for the count, so to speak. There's no hope. Well, he's the Father of hope, and he's the Almighty. So we can see that we have the Almighty inside of us, and that's why we can say that greater is the Almighty in us than he or anything in the world. Another title about him, he's the Ancient of Days. He's the beginning and the end. He always was and always will be. He's the great I am. He's the first and the last. He's before everything. And he that began a good work in you will complete it. He's the beginning and the end, the first and the last. If he promised you that he was going to use you so effectively and everything, and it hasn't happened yet, he's going to fulfill it, again, as you surrender everything to him. Maybe that was the problem before. You haven't submitted everything to him or everybody to him. Well, he's going to finish what he started. He is the finisher. And I have a book on my website, henrywalker.org. At the bottom of the message page is the Trinity Really a Mystery, explaining the Trinity. And the last half of the book is on titles of our Father. It'll build up your faith. It's free. Just download it. Also, he's the architect. He's making something beautiful out of our lives. He's bringing us into purpose and destiny. Maybe it seems that, again, he's promised you so many things. He's promised you different areas of ministry and it hasn't happened. Maybe you need to get unhooked from some people that are trying to hold you back. Maybe you've been infiltrated on people who doubt, who have doubt and unbelief. It's like in a foxhole. In a war, they don't want to go out of the foxhole, and they don't want you to go because they're afraid. They don't want to do it themselves. But you need to go forth and follow him. The Father called Abraham alone and blessed him. Look at it in 1 Samuel 14. As you go to the left of 1 Samuel 14. It's right after 2 Chronicles, 1 Chronicles, 2 Kings, 1 Kings, 2 Samuel, and 1 Samuel 14. Again, we're talking about learning more about the titles that our Father has and drawing on those titles for our miracle. Learning more about him and drawing on him for our miracle or miracles that we need today. 1 Samuel 14, talking about his power and stepping out by faith. If you do it alone, it doesn't matter. But here, the Philistines had all the swords of the Israelites. They were sharpening them. And of course, the Philistines choose this time to attack. There's only 2 swords. And Jonathan and his armor bearer took those swords. In verse 4, 1 Samuel 14, verse 4, and between the passages by which Jonathan sought to go over unto the Philistines' garrison, there was a sharp rock on the one side and a sharp rock on the other side, and the name of the one was Bozez, and the name of the other Sini. So whatever the Father asks you to do, him being the Almighty, he protects you on either side. And also, it says in Micah that he's our breaker going ahead of us, but it also says that he's our reward in the back. He's got us covered. protected totally. Jonathan said, if the uncircumcised garrison up there says, come on up, that means they're overconfident, and the Father has given us the victory. But if they say, hey, wait, we'll come down, then no, this is not the time to fight. In verse 13, after the garrison said, come on up here, Jonathan climbed upon his hands and upon his feet, and his armor bearer after him, and they fell before Jonathan, and his armor bearer slew after him. And that first slaughter which Jonathan and his armor bearer made was about 20 men, within as it were a half acre of land, which a yoke of oxen might plow. And there was a trembling in the host. These two just went alone with the only two swords that the Israelites had, and the Father honored that. He doesn't need a whole army to win a battle. He can win it all by himself. Remember, Joshua was fighting this battle against these 5 kings, and the Father rained down hailstones from heaven on the enemies and said that more were killed with the hailstones than Joshua's army. So he's working for us, but he wants us to take a step in faith because he is the Almighty. And there are no mighties around. He's the Almighty. Verse 14 again, and that first slaughter which Jonathan and his armor bearer made was about 20 men, within as it were a half acre of land, which a yoke of oxen might plow. Take that half acre of land that he wants you to take. He is with you, and if he's with you, who can be against you successfully? Nobody. In Psalm 27, the Father is our light and our salvation. Whom shall we fear? Nobody. He is the strength of our lives. Of whom shall we be afraid? Nobody. In verse 15, there was a trembling in the host and in the field, and among all the people, the garrison and the spoilers. They also trembled, and the earth quaked. So there's a very great trembling. And the watchmen of Saul and Gibeah of Benjamin looked, and behold, the multitude melted away, and they went on beating down one another. They killed each other. There's confusion in the enemy's camp. It's a message on my website, written message, confusion in the enemy's camp. So again, he's the Almighty. There's nothing in the world that you need to be afraid of after you surrender everything to him, because you belong to him. And he controls everything and everybody, as I mentioned. And he's faithful and true. But what he's promised to you, he will do. And before we continue, I want to mention something I mention on every podcast. If Satan or your flesh is giving you any thoughts that have not originated from the Father, fear, worry, lust, any filthy thoughts, just say out loud. Say, Yeshua, Jesus, I thank you that the crown of thorns was around your head. That was for me. That means my mind is protected by your blood. And I only think your thoughts. Submit to the Father and resist Satan, and he will flee. Give those thoughts to the Father. Let him deal with them. So again, we're talking about some of the attributes of the Father, some of the titles of the Father that he can move on you right now. If you submitted everything to the Father, just receive blessings today. And be sure to tune in on the next podcast as we continue. More and more miracles are going to be poured out because of the faith that he is going to generate out of us when we talk about him. It says in Malachi, the last chapter of Malachi, that those who talk about him, think upon his name, he'll make them up as jewels. He'll make us up as jewels. And if you enjoyed these podcasts, tell other people about these podcasts. Share, subscribe, hit the like button, and remember till next time. This is Evangelist Henry Walker saying, greater is the Father in you, your daddy, the King of the universe, than anything or anybody in the world.